Hey, welcome to the Know Where You Want to Go Travel Podcast, episode number 30. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Cam DeJong, your host, and today we're going to talk about a foodie's guide of sorts to Virgin Voyages. If you're familiar with CamJon Travel, which is the agency that I'm a managing partner of, we do serve exclusively Virgin Voyages. We don't talk about this on every podcast episode or many of them at all because we talk about a variety of travel topics, but it is important for us to share our knowledge when it comes to Virgin Voyages and share it in a way that makes sense to our listeners. So today we're going to talk about Virgin Voyages and how unique the dining is on Virgin. And it is evolving. There are going to be some changes. So some of this information might become dated pretty quickly because of the evolution of the menus. And that's one reason I'm not going to talk about specific menu items because of the changes that are coming. But I will say that it is unique in many ways. And what makes it unique, and it really comes from the questions that I get. Number one is it all too upscale and dressy and fancy? And the answer to that is no, it's not. In fact, you can walk into what you might perceive to be the most upscale restaurant on a Virgin Voyage wearing shorts, shoes, and a t-shirt, and you're going to be just fine because that's how Virgin Voyages is across the board when it comes to attire and dress code, is you're able to do and dress however you wish. Obviously, nothing offensive and nothing wild, but you can do that. The second question I get often is, are there buffets on Virgin Voyages? That's an interesting question because, you would think that most people would shy away from buffets, regardless of COVID or whatever in the past. But it is a question I get often, and Virgin Voyages does not have buffets. But that leads us right into our first kind of reveal of the foodie's guide to Virgin Voyages is the Galley. It's your 24/7 food hall. You're going to have a bunch of stations, and they're not all open 24 hours, but you do have a number of stations that are open when you most want to eat. The Daily Mix, Diner and Dash, which is super cool for like breakfast items and so on. The Burger Bar, which as you can imagine is a burger bar. And then there's the ability to get sushi, which is amazing. They make that and you can just grab and go on whichever sushi you want. And there are a lot of grab and go options in addition to that. Inside the Galley area is going to be Gunbae, which is a Korean steakhouse. And that is, from what I understand, evolving on their menu. We love it. It's a great experience, whether you go with a group of 6, which would give you a table to yourself usually, or if you go as a pair, as a couple, and you're put together with 4 others, then it's so much fun either way. You get to know people or you get to know your friends even more. So very exciting there. And that's not part of the Galley. It's not per se a Galley restaurant, but it happens to be in the vicinity of the Galley. But getting into some of the restaurants here for just a few moments that we really like when we cruise on Virgin Voyages. We love them all, quite frankly. The Dock House, the Dock, which is amazing, is not really a restaurant either. It's kind of outside on the outskirts of on the outskirts. There's no really outskirts of the cruise ship, but outside, and you can get some kind of finger foods, some shrimp, some chicken, some octopus. That's at least the menu right now. Sometimes they have some Greek fare that you can grab. That's pretty cool too. But the Wake, we'll start with the Wake. The Wake is I would say our second favorite restaurant on Virgin Voyages. And it's a steakhouse and there's seafood, but you can get some premium cuts and seafood, as I mentioned, and some wonderful desserts too. And the service level is quite high. The service level across Virgin Voyages is quite high, but the Wake really takes it to another level. Not quite to the level that our favorite restaurant does, but we'll get to that in just a moment. The Wake does have some upsell opportunity or opportunities for you to pay for something extra, and I would say never do that. There's no reason to. We did do that on one of our sailings where we had a lot of extra sailor loot, aka onboard credit, and we decided to get a tomahawk steak, and we could have just had the steaks on the menu and ordered another steak at no extra cost and saved that sailor loot for something else. It's just there's really no reason unless you just have so much sailor loot sitting around to ever use it towards or use money or any kind of expenditures towards the add-ons there. And they don't push these add-ons. In fact, they almost look at you like you have two heads when you ask for them. It's kind of like tipping on Virgin Voyages. You don't do it. It's included. They don't expect it. You'll never feel the pressure to tip. It's an amazing feeling. A couple of other restaurants before I get to our favorite. Razzle Dazzle. If you're looking for something for brunch or breakfast, the Wake also serves breakfast and brunch. It's amazing. But Razzle Dazzle, while it's vegan or vegetarian forward, they do have some meat options there. And they just have some creative dishes. So definitely check that out. Again, I'm not going to name dishes that are there. I mean, I could say avocado toast is on the breakfast brunch menu, and it will likely still be there a year from now or 6 months from now. But they are undergoing some changes to their menu. A great place though, especially for breakfast, brunch, whatever, it's kind of interchangeable in a sense. And then Pink Agave. We didn't go on our most recent cruise to Pink Agave because we ran out of places to go in our 4 nights. But I will say it's an amazing, amazing atmosphere, really, really good food. It's the largest amount of tequila at sea. So the largest selection of tequila, I should say. And amazing fresh guacamole. The margaritas based on that tequila are really good. Amazing Mexican cuisine, wonderful service. Our favorite has always been extra virgin. I'm not someone that goes out to Italian restaurants very often, so it's odd because I'll go to seafood restaurants, to steakhouses, to Mexican restaurants, to Asian restaurants, and so on. But we don't go to a lot of Italian restaurants, and maybe that's one of the reasons why this is so good to us. But we really enjoy extra virgin because it's just a different taste. It's not Olive Garden by any means. I'm just kidding there. Nothing wrong with Olive Garden, but it's just fresh. So good. Amazing service. They're going to help you select a wine, and you can get a certain amount of wine if you're a mega rock star. Otherwise, you can use your bar tab towards that. Or if you're nice, you can get everybody at a table a bottle of wine, whatever it is, and use your bar tab for that too. But it's just amazing. The atmosphere there has always been awesome. We've had some wonderful people there that have been really, really friendly to us, and just great service and great food, amazing food there. So there's some options for you to consider there when it comes to great dishes at different restaurants. When you're looking for something a little more casual, you had the Social Club, which has a bar inside as well. But there's some snacks, some popcorn, and some hot dogs, and some other snacks there, and some wonderful drinks if you wish to partake there. Some dessert items, some cookies and cakes, and so on. Lick Me Till Ice Cream. That's ice cream, not ice cream, but ice cream. That is on board as well, and they have a flavor of the day, and they have many other homemade flavors on board, and that's gotten a lot busier on the more sailings I go on, the more busy that gets. So it's very popular, and I'd highly recommend it if you like ice cream to check that out. And again, as I mentioned with the vegetarian, vegan, etc. diet accommodations, they're also very much accommodating towards gluten-free diets. Diabetic. I'm a type 1 diabetic. So if I need something to be done for me, it can be asked for. It's not always easy because it's actually easier as a diabetic just to not eat carbs. So it's a lot easier for me than it would be for someone that needs gluten or no gluten, because that's a lot more risky, than if I accidentally have a piece of bread, which I should never accidentally have a piece of bread. I should know what I'm doing. When it comes to reservations, there's some flexibility there. You can make reservations in advance via the app, the Virgin Voyages app, in advance of your sailing, which is always recommended. On shorter cruises, you can eat at one restaurant per voyage, or you can make a reservation at one restaurant per voyage. It's kind of a as can be accommodated basis once you're on board. I would just recommend that if you're on a 4 or 5 night sailing, that you try to get to one restaurant for sure each night, one different unique restaurant each night. As the sailings get longer, you have more options to eat at restaurants more than one time. But there's also a lot of flexibility typically with walk-ins. I've seen where people have come up and been told it's going to be 2 hours, but most of the time I see that they have tables set for especially smaller groups. If it's a big group, it might be a little more challenging for them. But really the conventional wisdom there is sometimes wrong. I'm even wrong in what I'm saying. You'll oftentimes find that they do have tables reserved for bigger groups, and they don't want to break those down for smaller. And that's any kind of restaurant or cruise line. that will do that. But there's some flexibility on there. So what we recommend, try a different restaurant. Like I said, don't be tempted to have a great meal one night and try to eat there multiple times. One, you probably can't, but two, it's great to try something new. Test Kitchen, another one that you should definitely try. I mean, there's just so many options there. The Galley for quick bites, you're looking for that buffet style. I mean, Virgin Voyages might not be for you if buffets are your main focus, but if it is for you, otherwise, the Galley is wonderful there. Book the restaurants in advance. Ask for recommendations. The staff will make great dinner reservations. They'll ask you questions. You're not gonna ask, for example, what's your favorite meal? And they're gonna tell you, well, my favorite is spaghetti and meatballs. They're going to ask you follow-up questions to make sure that the recommendation they give you fits your dietary needs, which is amazing. It's awesome. It's so good to see. And of course, every restaurant has specialty drinks. And if you're like to drink cocktails or what have you, definitely check in on that. So again, there's a lot of diversity, a lot of high quality dining options. You should explore those. If you go to CamJonTravel.com and check out our blog, you're going to be able to find there a restaurant guide and some information on, I mentioned, you could get with Mega Rockstar a bottle of wine. You can get bottles of wine to a certain extent on your voyages. So definitely check that out as well. And if you're interested in learning more about Virgin Voyages, me and my team are here for you. So thank you so much. Looking forward to continuing on with episode 31 next month. And when we get there, you're going to have hopefully a surprise. So stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe, comment, like, and all of that good stuff. And definitely share this podcast with your friends and family. Look forward to talking to you soon. Take care. And thank you so much for tuning in.